everybody, thanks for being here today. I'm really excited to bring you this video. It's actually something I have done for the past couple of years, and I wanted to bring one in this year as well. Just talking about those different drugstore products that I think really seem more expensive than they are. Is this not something everybody would like to have? You know, just an amazing value, something that really does what it says it's going to do. It seems just more luxe in the application of the product, the textures of the products, just the type of thing where you're like, you know, not that I want to say this too loudly, but I'd probably pay more for this particular product, and I think it can totally hang with different high-end things that are out there. If you also like the idea of this video, I did one recently called 5 Times a Drugstore Did It Better, and in that video I really made some direct comparisons to different high-end products. Here it's not so much about that, but just some different drugstore products that in their own right are really high-performing, high-end seeming products. What I've pulled from my collection to talk about is not necessarily a full face of things, so I'll just be chatting through this video and pop up some demos as I need to. First thing I want to talk about is concealer. I went through my entire concealer collection and I was just thinking, you know, what thing that I have here from the drugstore really feels the most luxurious, the best performing, the kind of thing that has a price tag that really does shock me. And I found 2 different ones. One is more of a liquid doe foot applicator concealer, the other is a stick concealer. And the first one, and this product does get a lot of hype, I think, but it's for good reason. It's the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. I think that when you find a great coverage concealer that also is putting in some moisture content, it's offering up some richness, and you really feel that on the skin, and you feel like, okay, I can get all the coverage I need, but at the same time, you know, like my under eye area, for example, isn't going to suffer and look way dry by day's end just because I slapped on that full coverage. Here, I feel like I get amazing coverage, but I get the hydration. It's enough. It's not overwhelming, I don't think. If we want to talk about Tarte's Maracuja Creaseless Concealer, there's one that's very rich, almost sticky to the touch if you didn't set it. This I don't feel is quite that sticky, but it's got a noticeable level of hydration that goes beyond the original Camo Concealer. It goes beyond what, you know, Tarte Shape Tape gives you, but you still get incredible coverage. I use this in the shade Light Peach, and today I just use this around the under eye area with a very small amount of product. I think I get such a satisfying result. I feel like it spreads well. You know, you give yourself a tiny dab, but then boom, suddenly you've got that all over an entire surface area of the skin where you need it, and I just feel so impressed by the coverage plus the moisture. That's what gives this product its more high-end feel. And then there's another one I want to talk about that's a stick concealer, and this is from Neutrogena. It's another one of those concealers that has captured the moisture concept, which is something I think we really need, and it's the Hydro Boost Hydrating Concealer. So this is a stick concealer that really glides on like none other. I've used so much of this product, and today, since I used the other one on the under eye, I just swiped this on like kind of around the nose, chin, center of the face. It sweeps on so easily. It gets away with somehow feeling so thin, but yet as you feel it, you can definitely tell it's giving you some moisture. There was a recent video where I ended up using this on the under eye. I think it was the one where Bub picked my makeup, and this happened to be the concealer he used, and it worked great on the under eye area too, just in itself. It's not as full coverage as the e.l.f., but it's a stick concealer, and stick concealers have a very foolproof quality to them, do they not? I mean, you just literally draw over the area you want to conceal, blend it out. I would suggest tapping over it with a brush, and it just works incredibly well. Talk about a step up from what many of us maybe grew up thinking of stick concealers in the drugstore to be, you know, like a dry stick that was really going to leave a trail. You know, you could tell where you put it because it was so thick. This is so creamy, just kind of melts into the skin, has a very high-end feel. Hang on, gotta shine this next one up a little bit on the old leggings here. This one gets a lot of smudges, and it still has smudges. I need to get some Windex for this one. This is the e.l.f. Sheer Tint Finishing Powder. Talk about a buttery, creamy, rich feeling powder that definitely feels as good, if not better, than a lot of different high-end powders that I have. I have this in the shade Light Medium. To me, this is a real skin tone match type color. For example, for this look today, I went in and I used just a lighter powder, Rimmel Stay Matte actually in Sandstorm. That's what I took and dabbed around the under eye area, but this is kind of like going all over the rest of the face. It is so luxurious feeling. It is mattifying, okay? This is a powder you're going to use and feel like it totally did away with the shine, but it does so without looking dry because the texture texture of the powder is so downright creamy and fine and just really, really nice to work with. This is a huge under the radar product. It's been in e.l.f.'s line for quite some time. I recently rediscovered it after not giving it much attention at all, and I just think it's really exceptional. If you like L'Oreal's True Match powder, this is a lot like that, but probably even a little softer feeling, a little more just like, ooh, is that creamy or what? Most definitely feels like an expensive powder, I've gotta say. Next up, I wanna mention a newer blush find that just, I love this blush. Guys, listen up. This is gonna be a great blush going into fall where you want that little rosy cheek look. This is so gorgeous, and I think it could work for absolutely anybody. You use this softly and you're like my skin tone, you get a nice little subtle rosy cheek if that's the way you want to play it. If you want to build it up more, go for it, but I feel like on deeper skin tones this would really show as well. And I'm talking about this new CoverGirl True Blend So Flushed High Pigment Blush, and this shade is called Sweet Seduction. So it has a really rich rosy look, but what makes me think this is kind of an expensive seeming product? Well, if we get in a little closer and we really look at what's going on in here, this is not a shimmer blush that's got like loads of sparkle, flakiness, just those telltale elements of a shimmer blush that we usually don't like. It's actually really, really smooth. The sheen on it is just the way you'd want it to be, okay? It gives a little extra life to the cheeks, but it's not like it went the flaky, chunky, filler type route to do it, right? It's so smooth and it just looks beautiful. This particular color is so pretty and kind of different from a lot of ones that I've laid my hands on in the drugstore. And you know I've tried a ton of blushes. I love my blush. This one I love so much. Applied it with the e.l.f. blush brush today, and again, it's pigment, but it's got enough glow in a very classy kind of subtle way that I think is just so beautiful. I really feel like this is a must-try blush if you have not picked this up yet. Next, I'd like to talk about a setting spray, and here we go, Neutrogena coming back in it. I do feel like Neutrogena is kind of an underrated brand for their makeup, and this is the Radiant Setting Spray Healthy Skin. It's the one, I always joke about this, but it's just got the word peptides kind of floating around out here in no man's land, but this is a beautiful setting spray if you want a little bit more of a dewy look to the skin, okay? It's not gonna be like Urban Decay All Nighter where you mist it on, it kind of becomes invisible. It really does help the staying power, but you just don't see a ton of effect on the skin. If you actually want the skin to come away with a little bit more of a dewy look, this is great. Now you can control that in the amount of mists you do. I would say 4 mists of this is absolutely plenty, you know, like forehead, chin and nose, cheek, and done. To me, that feels really adequate, and then I look at my skin, and every time after I put this on, I look at my skin and I think, oh, you know, that did something special. And yet it's not like you're making your skin, you know, sticky with the application of this, but it's like this sneaky sort of radiance that just took effect on the skin. And to me, it's one of those things, I like the effect of this so much, I would definitely pay more for it to get this. I also really like the lightly fresh scent that it has. It's just like kind of fresh and uplifting and just kind of a nice way to start the day. And I feel like when it's my choice, I'm not doing some certain theme with my makeup. If I'm not using this wacky kiwi watermelon from Milani, I'm usually grabbing for this because that's kind of the look I like to give my skin after I've applied maybe some matte products, matte powders that have certainly done their job, but then I pop this on and it's like, oh, okay, there. Now it's all settled in. Now I'm really happy with the way everything looks. Getting into eye products, here's another thing from e.l.f.'s line that I've been using a ton lately, and I do feel like it's been around for a while, but it's just kind of gotten buried and not really talked about too much, and it's the Lock-On Cream Brow and Eyeliner. So it's 2 functions in one. You could use this as eyeliner, and guys, it has great staying power. It is the kind of thing that if you do a swatch of it on your hand or you put it on your eyes, it's not gonna rub off. Now, I wear the shade Espresso, and this concept especially works for me because, you know, it's a nice dark shade, so it really does lend itself to being a nice eyeliner if I want to use it that way. See, it's a near black brown. It's very creamy. creamy. I felt like at first I thought, oh, is this going to be too creamy, a little overboard? I would say not as creamy as ABH Dip Brow, but kind of close to that, but not as dry in formula as the Maybelline Tattoo Studio. So a little goes a long way with this. I do love using it with the double-ended e.l.f. brow brush that also has a spoolie on the other end, and you can kind of use that spoolie to help the product through the brows, but it does set in there. The staying power is incredible, and then also having that option to use it as liner, that's where you kind of thank the product for its creaminess, because it does apply easily as a liner. If it were more dry, it wouldn't do that job very well at all. But I've just really been reaching for this a lot lately, loving the effect. I think it's a big bang for your buck, and as a result, I think it seems more expensive than it is. Okay guys, you wanna know what I'm rocking on my eyes today for this very subtle, very understated eyeshadow look? It's this one from CoverGirl, and this is the shade called Mink. This has been around a long time. If you enjoy kind of a taupey rose gold, this is a beautiful shade, and it's great for a one shadow look. Here's what you're gonna wanna do. Get the shadow going in the crease, and then dab it on the lid with the sponge tip in a more concentrated way, and you kind of get the best out of this product. You get just that subtle hint of depth that you might want there, but then a little bit of glow across the lid. Love this shade. If you haven't checked this out, you definitely want to. The texture on this is soft and beautiful. I feel like CoverGirl eyeshadows, a lot of us think about maybe CoverGirl shadows being the first shadows we ever used, so why would we associate those with being super luxe or just as good as high-end or whatever? You know, it might not pop into a lot of people's mind, but this is definitely a worthwhile shadow that you want to check out if you just like that easy, subtle look, or if you want that element, that kind of color to be part of another kind of look that you like to do. You know, it can be a great lid shade, a great little transition type color. It does have shimmer, but it totally works in this capacity, right? Now, the other eye thing I want to talk about are these Profusion eye brushes. Talk about something that has just been great quality. These have held up so well. I've been using these for months now. I definitely bring them in on and off. I can use them just totally interchangeably with my Sigma brushes and feel completely satisfied in what they're capable of. First one I need to mention is the Firm Blending Eyeshadow Brush. This is the ES2. This is what's going to be most comparable to a Sigma E25, and it's just the perfect shape. It's a little pinched in there. See that as I turn the brush at the top of the ferrule. It's got a little bit of a pinch, and that's what gives it some width, and that is what makes it a great brush for setting up your look with a crease color, just popping it in there, getting it blended out. Just terrific for that. Also, I've kind of been starting to use this one a bit more lately, the ES3 Pointed Crease Eyeshadow Brush. To me, this is kind of the equivalent of my E40 in that I like to just use it bare and or maybe for a highlight shade and just sweep it on there. It's got a little more of a point to it. The taper comes up just a little bit more, which actually gives me a little bit more control in shadow placement. And then these two little guys here. This one is what I've been looking for from so many brands for so long, guys. The ES6 Small Pointed Eyeshadow. Look how little this is, okay? It's not a big guy, but it's dense enough to really do the job. And when you just want to have utmost control with what's happening in that outer corner, lift the shadow up, really build in an outer V, or use this under the eye if you like kind of a smudgy liner type look. This is what a person with small eyes may need when they watch everybody, you know, throwing an E25 into their crease and thinking, you know, that makes my eye look muddy. I tried that, but the look ends up muddy and shadow are all kind of overlapping more than I want. Then maybe you need a smaller brush to get in there in the crease, and this could be like a godsend to you. And by the way, talking about expensive though, the construction of these brushes is absolutely beautiful. They've got kind of this matte, sort of reminds me a little bit of the texture of the outside of a NARS product. You know what I'm talking about? And then this pretty top, would you call that rose gold? And also zero shedding, completely soft, just wonderful brushes. And you can get them with your Walmart order. Other one I'll talk about here is the ES4 Small Firm Eyeshadow Brush. Let's talk about it in comparison to the last one. It's a little shorter, it's a bit more dense, it's a little bit thicker than some other pencil brushes that I have, but works great. Might be nice for smudgy liner, might be nice for smudgy lower liner. Just a good one to have in the collection. For a lot of different steps in the eye look, as you can see, Profusion would have you covered with these really low cost but amazing performing brushes. brushes. Next up, let's talk about some lashes that could totally pass for something selling for $20 to $30 on Sephora's website. And it's the Extension Seeker from Salon Perfect. It says 3D curl, multi-dimensional, tapered tips. I have them in the B curl style right here, but I've worn different other styles that I've also enjoyed. But what makes these special is that kind of fluttery, really full quality that these have. We've all tried some cheap lashes that look like they've literally been snipped with scissors, like way too blunt looking, just not that feathery, really pretty, flattering look at all. And these just are the opposite of that. They have a lot of thickness, some beautiful length, but not so dense to where they look completely like off the wall, cheap false lashes. They seem much more to me like a Huda lash or a brand that, like I said, charges way, way more for their lashes. That's what these feel like to me, a really expensive false lash. The band is really easy to work with. That's another thing. Sometimes you get some lashes where you love the fullness, you love the style, but the band is just a little too firm, and as a result, it just doesn't want to bend with your eye. It doesn't want to stay laid down. Maybe eventually it does after a lot of uses, but these are just really easy to pop on at the get-go and then, you know, reuse them and reuse them. I don't know how many times I've worn this pair, 5 or 6 so far. They ain't quitting anytime soon. These are great, and again, I think it's another Walmart buy. Last thing I want to mention in this video is, I think, kind of an underrated lip product from e.l.f. Now, I know those Ride or Die lip balms, okay, those new ones in the little tubes. I've already talked about the greatness of these. I'm not gonna bore you with that again in this video. These seem much more expensive than they are, but here's another thing to throw at you. This e.l.f. Plumping Lip Gloss. This is right up there with what a Buxom lip gloss does. It's right up there with, you know, the more opaque Milani glosses. And I'm talking about also the Buxom full-on plumping lip creams that are more creamy, you know, a little bit more opaque in the way they look on the lips. This shade called Mocha Twist. Show me a more pretty, natural, everyday gloss. It's got all the shine. It's taken away all the lines in the lips. It looks so perfect going on. It's a gloss for all occasions. Also, the tube here, they've given it like a thicker feel. Let's face it, some of e.l.f.'s packaging is pretty cheap, and I appreciate the fact that they're not making us pay for packaging. But with this one, it's just a little bit more high-end seeming design as well. And the fact that it goes on with opaque color, there's a nice thickness to it. You actually feel like you're getting some hydration out of this. You are going to get a little bit of a tingling sensation. It's nothing that hurts, but you kind of know it's there. And then, like I said, just the smoothing out of the texture of the lips. This is the kind of product where I'm kind of like, oh, I might need more shades of this. I'm really, really enjoying it, and it's just every bit as good as a Buxom lip gloss. So my friends, that's all I've got for you today. Let me know if you enjoyed this video by giving it a thumbs up. Chat with me in the comments section. Let me know if you've run into any gems out there that you just feel like, gosh, you know, I'd actually pay a little bit more for this product. It is right up there with high end. I love learning about different things like that. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate you making me a part of your day, and I will see you again very soon. Bye, guys.